Hi class, it's Mercedes once again. Just wanted to share with you this week the three founding theories that I've done some research on. I'll be talking about Frederick Winslow Taylor, Mary Parker Follett, and Max Weber. Frederick Winslow Taylor had a very interesting concept, and he was one of the first people to actually break down the mode of working into a scientific method. This was much different from, years, centuries before, where there were artisans who had specific skills, tailors, blacksmiths, carpenters, and others, who really embodied the whole concept of that type of work. So Frederick Winslow Taylor came up with the thought of efficiency, that if we broke down certain jobs into smaller fragmented jobs, that we could be more efficient, and that then spending less time on that specific, project. So I did have a chance to watch some of the video as well, and it talked about some of the views of Taylor could be described as micromanaging. And if we think in the real world of work, and we put Taylorism, I think, to true practice, this would be more like having a manager or a supervisor hovering over the work that you do, breathing down your neck, and truly like managing every single step of the way. I don't believe the full means of Taylorism is practical in the workplace. I think there are some levels that can be used, and that would probably be more in like industrial or some sort of like manufacturer, where the process it truly desires to be more efficient, where you're looking at something that's a repetitious type of movement. And in most cases, I think in our day-to-day lives, we're not really required to take care of just one task. There's a multiple level of tasks. And the process and procedure, if there's like a flow chart, that tends to help out, so okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, and have a general idea of what the process would look like. But the time watch and the stopwatch and really trying to, keep people on task, I think that's where it would become a problem. And again, looking back at some of the industries when he was trying to practice his technique in the iron in that industry, I guess manufacturing, he had a real big revolt with the employees, and they didn't want to be micromanaged, and I could see that still happening in today. So now moving on to the second theory of Mary Parker Follett. She was a pioneer in her era. She was one of the first women to actually partake in this whole philosophy of management and developing some sort of science to it. She was from a wealthy family, and she was part of an era where the women really didn't partake in this process. So she began to work in more of the social area. She really developed the vocational guidance, and then she discussed the power of the group and the personal relationships of people in the workplace. She broke it down to a method of a fluid management style, and it was totally opposite, I think, of what some of the other theorists had, which is that leaders and their subordinates should actually be viewed as an equal level, where the manager is able to learn skills and techniques from its employees. So it was a real different view. It was integration. And when looking at the conflict in the workplace and how there might be disagreements and how something should be resolved, she decided that both sides of the story should be really looked at and what are the interests of both parties. And she understood that there's a diverse needs and wants from both parties, but she really wanted that both parties explore how to accommodate one another where they both come out winning in the situation. She also saw that she should rely on the expertise of those people who have more skills or more years of experience on the job. And she believed that if a manager were to pay attention to its subordinates, that the whole process would work a lot more smoother because those people have a greater depth of knowledge in that area. And I do believe that's true. In the field that I work in case management, we work with the youth, and having the case managers who've done this job for many years give their opinion to the manager on what works, how to talk to the youth, how to prepare, classes and programs and recruitment. I do believe it brings a much more interactive approach where the program runs a lot smoother because the supervisor is taking the expertise of the employees. And then lastly, regarding her leadership style, she really believes in that the leader should be the energizer of the group, and bringing that positive atmosphere into the workplace. I think that's very true, that being a leader, you really do have to find some means to motivate the employees. And she understands that it's more of a holistic approach in the workplace that needs to be taken instead of the rigid form, which can cause, a lack of value of the worker, no sense of, ownership to the work or a loyalty to the organization. She believes if everybody's involved, everybody has an opinion, that the worker will be more apt to do his or her job. Max Weber is the last theorist that I'm looking at, and he talks about the structure of an organization and how important it is to report information from the top down. It really outlines the characteristics of a bureaucracy, and how we should have a process that can produce consistency. So he strongly believed in recording information so there is a consistency. His methods or his theories really came to be that we have a specific calling for the job and we should follow our calling and really specialize in that. I believe that in some cases this does work, his concept. It is a bit rigid as well, but he has a lot of, I think, the background where we should specialize in a certain area to have a greater good for an organization. And the example that I will give is in my type of work. Since I am in the field work area, the work that I do is reported to my manager, which is in the downtown building. and that's the head of the youth source system. She then has the general manager that she reports to, and then our organization as a whole, we report to the Workforce Investment Board, which I believe having that oversight is important to make sure that the organization is running functionally. I agree with his concepts, and I believe that it does work. In conclusion, after looking at all three theorists, I believe that on a day-to-day basis, we do take elements from each one of these, and it can be applied in all different industries. I enjoy most Follett's theory. It's much more social, and I think in a utopian world, this would be great. But we would have to consider that is the work actually getting done? Is there too much discussion happening and too little work, actually taking place? But the approach of involving the employees in the decision making, I believe, brings about more support, more encouragement, overall just more commitment to the organization. Thanks for listening, and look forward to checking out everybody else's videos. Have a great evening.